Hello, this is Angela with today's A Cup of Tea, which is a cup of water today. So as our energies are changing, as our world is changing, and we are starting to delve into our depths and really pull up all this stuff and clear it out, one of the things I talk about a lot in these webcasts is how we're learning to let go. And in creation and manifesting, becoming more powerful and tapping into our divinity, that we are creating, but in the highest and best way. And when we do that, the most accurate way of having that happen is by letting go of the reins and letting the universe and Creator take care of it, and our higher selves. So, and sometimes that's the hardest thing for us to do. That can be the most challenging, because we want things to happen a certain way, or we think that the highest and best, most positive thing is a certain way, and there are all these details attached to it. And when we do that, then we're limiting the channels that are allowing the highest and best, most positive thing to happen for us and for the others who we're working with. Now, perfect example of this is when you are in any kind of healing facilitation work, whether you are a doctor or nurse, or whether you are a healing practitioner, a healing facilitation practitioner, and like some of the work I do. And when I first started doing this work, one of the first things I had to learn was to say, okay, I'm doing what is highest and best, most positive for this person, and my intention is to do so. And I trust and have faith that regardless of what I see right this second, whether I have one session, 5 or 10 sessions with this person, that it will be for the highest and best, most positive for them in the interaction that we were to have. That's sometimes, and that's what gets in the way a lot of times with people who do that kind of work, because they want to control the outcome. They want to say, okay, I see you, you want to release this, you want to heal this. And if it doesn't happen right away after we do that work, then we say, oh my gosh, what happened? What went wrong? The ego is going, oh my gosh, and it's panicking, and it's in the ditches going, I don't see the outcome. You know, and sometimes it can be the most challenging when you see a person once, and then you're like, well, I don't know what happened. Well, obviously, if they didn't come back to see me again, then obviously it didn't work. But then once you get the ego out of the way, you trust that what's highest and best and most positive for that person had happened in the interaction you have with that person in that session, then you can know that you did your job. You did what you intended to do. And know that it will somehow affect that person in the positive way that they intended. And that goes for all these relationships we have in our lives and all these interactions we have. Any interaction or relationship we have with any other being, whether it's familial or lovers, spouses, or friends, or even just somebody you run into at the bank or at the store or on the street. And sometimes our ego gets lost in something that's going on right in this second, because we don't understand all the underlying things that are going on with the person that we're interacting with. And as I've talked about before, the ego is so much the pawn in this game board of the 3D reality on Earth, that it's just looking at things from its own experience and from the experience of those around it, and like what it can see on the game board right around it, in front of it, behind it, and the other pawns that are around it, and what's going on with them. So when we trust that the higher self can see the whole game, and the I am self can create the game and recreate the game, that we're saying, okay, I want what's highest, and I am creating, not I create what is highest and best and most positive for me. I am looking to create, I am manifesting the highest and best, most positive relationship in my life, whatever the relationship is. A business partnership, a working relationship, client relationship, a lover relationship, a spousal relationship, a friend relationship, whatever it is. What's really the most important is to, once we do that, we let go of the reins and stop trying to paint the exact picture of what we think is what's highest and best. Because like I said, many times we can actually limit what happens because of that, because we paint too specific of a picture, and then what happens is we might not get what's going to make us the happiest and bring us to our personal legend and our highest and best if we limit our options, if we limit our expectations. And excuse my cat for jumping up on the table. So anyway, what I am conveying here is many times too the ego gets hurt, and so when the ego gets hurt, it wants to get revenge, or says, oh well, you know, and I want to hurt this person that way. Oh, I keep on hitting my mic today. I want to hurt this person in this way. I wish this for them, and sending them this negative vibration is bringing your own vibration down. And if we're trying to come from love, it's now time to change our entire approach to every interaction we have with love. And even if somebody is not the most positive to you, or you have some kind of hurtful thing happen, the key is to send them love back, because there is something that's causing them to act that way, and you're not really the cause of it. It's something that is in their head, it's in their ego that's causing them to act out in that way. And that can be a really tall thing to swallow, because there are many hurtful things that go on in our world today. But if we start with the little things and we get into the habit, then the more and more we practice it, and larger things come up, then we can just release a lot of the anger and vengefulness and all that kind of stuff, and criticism and judgment. We can release all that by just sending people love and trusting that the outcome of the situation will be the highest and best, most positive for me and for them, for you and for them. This can happen, and oh, the other thing that's really important is this can happen either immediately, which is, but see, we just want everything now, but many times it can be 5, 10, 20 years, 40 years later, when it's time for the highest and best to click in, and it's a sum of all the experiences of you or the other person. So that's another way of releasing our expectations, and releasing the reins, and knowing that our creation is going to serve us in the highest and best way, that we are heading towards our personal best, that we are heading towards our personal legend. And I'm laughing because my cat is now climbing onto my lap. But the key also is in releasing our judgment and criticism, and just saying, okay, I'm trusting that the outcome is going to be the highest and best and the most positive here, without the trauma, drama, or illness, and with grace and ease, as I so choose. And if the other person so chooses otherwise, that's their choice, but I'm trusting that the outcome will be this way. Then you let it go, and you know it will happen. It will. And I've had so many situations where it has happened, and it's just so comforting, and such happiness that comes from the outcome. And I'm telling you, sometimes it does take years, but it always happens, and it always resolves itself. Again, this goes back to this fluidity thing, versus us fighting and creating friction. If we're fluid to stuff, it does tend to resolve itself in a much better and higher, more positive way. And sometimes it's even in relationships where, you know, say you are in love with somebody, you feel like, you know, you're destined to be together and all this, and then something happens that it doesn't work out. You know, I met a lady that I hadn't seen for years, like actually it was about a year ago, but I hadn't seen her for years. And she was happy, but yet her husband had died, and she'd been so depressed last time I'd heard from her. And then she was so happy she was with somebody else. But you know what? This person was someone like her first love from high school, and situations created themselves that prevented them from being together. They were going to run off and get married. And she was sort of forced out of that situation. And then later met her husband, had a wonderful marriage for like 30 years. Her husband died, and she was devastated. And she ran into this man again. And they had as much as they loved and they were passionate and everything back then when they were teens, they had such a beautiful spark and such a beautiful relationship that was created when they met again, and because they were in a much different place, and yet that connection was still there. And look at how long it had been, like 35 years or 40 years or whatever. It was like a long time. And now she's just about as happy as I've ever seen her. And I mean, she glows. There are so many different experiences and examples that I can give you on this, but this is just a small piece of that whole letting go, of just trusting and starting to gain that connection with your higher self, and trusting that your higher self is going to take care of us, because It always does. It always looking out for our best and highest, and the best and highest experience that we want to have. So for today's clearing, I'm just going to leave you with this. Let's take a deep breath and close our eyes. And the clearing is to get Creator's truth and understanding and clarity on letting go of the outcome of a situation, on how to trust and having faith in the higher self and the I am self and Creator, on having the outcome of all relationships and all situations be without trauma, drama, or illness, and with grace and ease and balance and harmony and joy and fun and adventure, like I always add in. And that we can trust that even though we can't see the whole situation, that whatever our part in it is will create the highest and best, most positive outcome for everyone involved. So the clearing is to get Creator's truth and understanding, clarity on that, and to also get the feelings associated with how to let go, with how to create and let go with the highest and best, most positive intention, and to trust and how to trust and have faith. And the feelings on that, and that it's possible to and okay to and allowed and safe to, and that you're ready, willing, and able to, and have that in your life right now. And to how to release all those expectations and all the limitations that prevent us from getting to that highest and best. And all of this again, and any understanding on lessons that we have remaining to get from limiting our outcomes and expectations with relationships, and without letting go on any lessons left, and to do that without trauma, drama, or illness, and to do that with grace and ease and balance and harmony, and to do it via like an instantaneous download so you don't have to experience it anymore. And then to write it off as a completed experience and to offer it to all of your ancestors and descendants. And then to replace your personal understanding and understandings and definitions a lot with Creator's on all of this. And all you need to do is close your eyes, take a deep breath, and say, yes, letting go. And that's it. So have a great day. We'll see you next week. This is Angela with today's A Cup of Tea.